Sometimes someone else's story can change your own. Subscribe so you don't miss a single honest, open, and truly powerful story about love and pain. Brew some tea and enjoy my captivating story. Here we go. Hello everyone. My name is Aygul. I am 29 now. I am from Uralsk, Western Kazakhstan. Our life was always simple, quiet, centered around family. After my mother left when I was still studying in the Lyceum, I essentially became the main woman of the house. My father, Nurlaga, refused to marry again so as not to bring another woman into our home, and I took on all the care for him and my younger sisters Osal and Dinara. I cooked, washed, looked after the house. I didn't even think about marriage. My life was devoted to them, but life, like a blank sheet of paper, sometimes demands a completely new pattern. I remember that evening as if it were yesterday. I had just finished frying bauersaks, those fluffy golden balls that melt in your mouth. I stood wiping my hands on an elegant apron with delicate lace along the edges, the one Osel had given me. I wore a simple but figure-flattering dark blue velvet dress. Its soft fabric slid pleasantly along my skin, and I felt that despite my role as a homemaker, I was still a young woman. My father entered the kitchen with an unusual, slightly embarrassed expression. "Aygul, my daughter, we will have a guest. For you," he said. I laughed. "For me? Only Osel and Dinara come to me with their endless requests. What happened? Dad, are you joking?" "No, I'm not joking. A family will come, a suitor." This news shocked me. Me, getting married. I had almost forgotten that this was even possible. We talked for a long time. My father assured me that the girls were already grown, that Osel was smart and would manage the house well. He insisted, "Your life should not be only service to us, Aygul. You deserve your own hearth, your own husband, your own family. We already arranged everything with your future husband. You must at least look at him, as the custom requires." He spoke so warmly, calling me a Siltas, my precious one, that my heart trembled. I began to imagine what he might be like, smiling, gentle. Would he speak kind words to me, hold my hand, simply be there? Would I sink into his embrace after a long day, feeling his warmth? Ah, even the anticipation itself was sweet. The appointed day came. I was so nervous it felt like my heart would jump out of my chest. Osel insisted I look perfect. I put on a long silk dress of deep wine color. It had a high slit on the side and an elegant open back that revealed smooth skin. On my feet were low, steady heels that my father had given me for my last birthday. I completed the look with large malachite earrings, a gift from my mother. I felt beautiful, feminine, and a little bold. There was a knock at the door. My father, smiling, invited them in. I froze, preparing to step out. The first person I saw was a tall, stately man. He looked about 40. His face seemed carved from stone, but in his deep dark eyes there was incredible wisdom and a hidden sadness. He wore a perfectly tailored dark gray suit, and when he looked at me, his gaze was so long, so piercing, that for a moment I felt he saw not just Aygul in a silk dress, but my soul. His name was Kairat. I was captivated. My father, noticing my confusion, smiled gently and said, "Aygul, this is the groom's uncle, Kairat, and this is your groom, Marat." I quickly shifted my gaze and saw a young man standing next to Kairat. Marat. He was handsome too, with cheerful, mischievous eyes, 6 or 7 years younger than Kairat, about my age. He was dressed more casually, light trousers and a shirt. "Hello," I whispered, but my eyes involuntarily returned to Kairat. I was confused. Why was this older man attracting me so strongly? He was only a relative, yet his strong, dominant presence and elegance completely overshadowed the young Marat. Kairat quickly took control of the conversation. He explained that Marat, his nephew, had been raised by him after his parents' death. He told us about his logistics business, about how well off they were, how Marat worked with him. Everything he said carried such dignity and confidence that I could not take my eyes off him. When he spoke, I felt like the most desired woman in the room. In the end, the discussion was fast and businesslike. To my surprise, all matters were settled and we agreed on the engagement and an upcoming wedding. Marat, though kind, barely participated, mostly nodding at whatever Kairat said. After they left, I was overwhelmed with emotions. I was getting married. A different life awaited me. I would sleep beside a man who was meant to be my destiny. But why? Why was the only image in my mind that of Kairat? His scent, subtle, expensive perfume, his firm, confident stride, his arms folded across his chest showing strength. The preparation period began. Marat and I started talking. He was kind, easygoing, but not very talkative on the phone, and I longed for romance, for those long night conversations where he whispers sweet words to me. But Marat answered briefly, dryly, citing busyness or that he felt uncomfortable speaking when his friends were around. "We're in the barracks here, Aygul, you know. Men," he once said, and it hurt. But I pushed these thoughts away. The main thing was that after the wedding, I told myself, in our apartment he would be different. He would be mine, and we'd make up for everything. The apartment was furnished by Kairat, and it was luxurious, not just furniture but works of art, heavy expensive curtains, the softest carpet in the living room, a kitchen shining with brand new appliances. I was stunned. They were truly wealthy. The renovations continued, and I saw Kairat more and more often since our apartment was in the same building, one floor above his own. He oversaw every detail and was always polite, attentive, always asking, "What else do you need? Aygul, tell me, don't hesitate. You are our Kelin, our bride, and I want you to be happy." He looked at me with such a special gaze. He saw me not just as his nephew's bride, but as a woman. One day, when I came upstairs to discuss something, Marat wasn't there. Kairat was examining the newly installed wardrobe in the bedroom. It was huge, with mirrored doors reflecting our figures. He turned around. I was standing on tiptoe, trying to fix something on the top shelf, and my dress, naturally, had risen a little. Kairat approached, and without a word, his strong hand rested on my waist to steady me. It lasted only a moment, but his touch burned. I felt his warmth, his strength, his confidence, and it was the most intimate thing that had happened between me and his family. "Be careful, Aygul," he whispered, his voice low and velvety. "Thank you, Kairat," I answered, breathless from his closeness. That was the first bell, the first push toward realizing that I might be falling for the wrong man, not the one I was supposed to marry. Our wedding in Aktobe was magical. It was a true Kazakh toy, the kind one can only dream of. Hundreds of guests, live music, stunning outfits, and of course, I, Aygul, in a dazzling wedding gown, custom-made, with a pearl-encrusted corset and a long, airy train that made my steps feel royal. Around my neck was a thin gold necklace, a gift from Kairat. I felt like a princess. During the entire ceremony, I tried to look at Marat, my husband. He was handsome, young, and there was happiness in his eyes, but even on that day I caught myself searching for Kairat with my eyes. He sat at the head of the table, powerful, elegant, watching us with a fatherly yet overly perceptive smile. He wore a traditional suit that perfectly emphasized his broad shoulders. His gaze always lingered on me a second longer than necessary. It was my little secret pleasure. After the celebration, we returned to our new luxurious apartment in Uralsk. Our first night was gentle. Marat was kind, caring, but somewhat awkward. He had none of the fiery passion I had imagined, none of the burning words I had longed to hear. We were like two good friends performing a marital duty. I, hungry for romance, did not receive the emotional fulfillment I desired. I thought maybe he was just shy. We had only just gotten married, period. The next 3 months were full of contrasts. On the one hand, there was the luxury provided by Kairat. We didn't need anything. Marat didn't work during that time. He was busy dealing with some paperwork for his upcoming business trip. On the other hand, there was emotional dryness. Marat was kind, but his attention was focused more on himself and his plans. Our intimate world was bleak. He came to me whenever he wanted. It was quick, technical. It felt like for him it was just a way to relieve tension. I, however, dreamed of long, passionate caresses, of touches that would make me forget my own name. And then, 3 months later, when I found out I was pregnant, Marat suddenly changed. He became even more distant, although he did say he was happy. A week after the news, he announced, "It's time for me to go, Aygul. Is everything ready? I'm flying out. Period. Where? Why now?" My voice trembled. "You know I'm pregnant. I need your support now, your warmth. I know, but this is for our future. I can't lose the money my work abroad brings. Kairat has taken care of everything. You'll be under his supervision. He's nearby. He will support you. It'll be easier for you alone without me. You'll rest. Focus on the baby. Where I work is no place for a pregnant wife. Period." I was stunned. He used my pregnancy as a pretext to leave. My dreams of us going to the doctor together, of him stroking my belly and talking to the baby, shattered to pieces. A few days later, he flew off on his long trip. I was left alone in our huge, luxurious but cold apartment. My heart tightened from resentment and loneliness. I tried calling him, but he rarely answered, always sending messages instead. "Can't talk, the guys are here. It's awkward. I'm working, don't distract me." I often went downstairs to my father and sisters, but even there it was hard. I was used to being the mistress of the house and couldn't just sit while my younger sisters ran around. I cleaned, cooked, even though I felt terrible. My father scolded me. "Rest, Asil Tassim. You don't need this right now." It was during this time that Kairat became my only salvation. He lived one floor below. He called me every day, but not with empty questions. He called to ask, "Do you need a massage? Are you sleeping well? How can I comfort you?" He often came up, always warning me beforehand, always keeping a respectful distance, but his presence was like sunlight. He brought me fruit, books, sometimes came just to sit and talk. He listened to me without interrupting. His deep, low voice calmed me. I started dressing more carefully when he was around. At home, I liked to wear long silk robes I had bought as part of my wedding trousseau. They were thin, flowing, and if I sat a certain way, the high slit revealed the elegant line of my leg, and the fabric became slightly translucent. Kairat always noticed. I saw his eyes darken slightly when he looked at me. One day, when I felt especially bad and could barely hold back my tears from longing, he came. I was sitting on the couch wrapped in my favorite ivory-colored robe. It was very thin, almost weightless. "Aygul," he said, sitting down on the edge of the couch. "Marat is wrong. He should be here, but since he isn't, I will be." He reached out his hand and gently, almost timidly, ran it through my hair, tucking back a loose strand. His touch was as light as a butterfly's wing, yet so strong and comforting. "I feel so lonely, Kairat," I whispered. "I know, my precious," he replied, for the first time calling me almost the same as my father did, but with a completely different possessive intonation. "I'm here. I'm by your side. Period." He stayed with me for more than an hour, just talking about business, about life, about his plans. He told me that his previous marriages had fallen apart because of his infertility. Women left Aygul. They all wanted children, and I couldn't give them that. I can't blame them. That's why I'm so happy that you two will have a baby. He will be my only nephew, and I will love him like my own. He is my blood, my hope, period. His sincerity melted my heart. I saw him not as a stern businessman, but as a lonely, deeply sensitive man longing for family warmth. When he left, he took my hand and pressed it to his chest. "If anything happens, call me immediately. I am always available. Period." I sat there feeling his warmth still lingering on my palm. Marat had not shown me that much care in 3 months of marriage as Kairat had in 3 weeks of his absence. My husband had neglected me, leaving me in the care of a man who seemed all too happy to take on that role, and I, to my shame, was glad of it. That was the moment I realized that it was no longer my husband who was feeding my emotional hunger, but his uncle, and that was the beginning of a dangerous path. My pregnancy was difficult, but at the same time easy because Kairat was by my side. If not for him, I would have simply gone mad from loneliness and longing for Marat, who continued to ignore my calls. His replies were rare and dry. "Let's talk by text. No time. We're having an inspection here. Period." I felt like an abandoned toy. I kept messaging Marat, trying to provoke at least some jealousy or concern in him, telling him how much Kairat cared about us, but he only replied, "Great, what else are uncles for? Don't worry, Aygul, I'll be back soon. I just need to earn a bit more." Kairat, on the contrary, was completely immersed in my life. When I found out we were having a boy, I told Kairat before I could reach Marat. I simply couldn't get through to him. I called Kairat and, breathless with joy, shared the news. A boy. We're having a boy. He arrived 10 minutes later. He was wearing a light cream shirt with the top buttons undone and dark trousers. He looked stunned, but utterly happy. "A boy," he whispered, his eyes shining. This is so important for us. An heir. Period." He hugged me. It was the first real embrace since the wedding, without any sexual undertone, but filled with such powerful, almost fatherly tenderness. He held me for a long time, and I felt his strong hands trembling. "I will love him, Aygul, like my own son. We will raise him together. I will not let him want for anything," he said, and his voice was full of a vow. When I finally got through to Marat and told him about our son, his reaction was sluggish. "Good, happy for us. I figured as much. Well, I have to go now." And he hung up. I cried. It was the last thing I could bear. I was hurt and offended. Kairat took over caring for me as if he were my husband. He paid for the best private clinic in Shymkent, a city he often traveled to for work, so that I could give birth there. He insisted that I move into his apartment for the last month because you'll need constant supervision. I, pregnant, lonely, exhausted, agreed. I lived in his huge, luxurious apartment, in a separate room, of course. Kairat turned out to be incredibly attentive to my little fetishes. I had always loved when a man wears classic handmade leather shoes, and Kairat wore them all the time. Smooth, shiny leather, an elegant cut, he always cleaned himself. Being pregnant, I loved sitting with my hands resting on my big belly, watching him hunch over to polish his shoes before going out. I loved the smell of expensive leather and polish. That evening, when the contractions began, Marat was unreachable. Kairat was with me. He was my support, my shield. He held my hand, drove me to the clinic, waited outside the doors, and was the first to see our son. He cried with happiness. I had never seen such emotion from Marat, not even at the wedding. During the postpartum period, I returned to our apartment, but I often visited Kairat. I felt indebted to him, and he never stopped caring for me. He brought a housemaid so I could rest, and he visited the baby every day. When Marat returned, our son was already over a month old. He came, as it seemed to me, with only one purpose, to fulfill his marital duty. Aygul, your nafas, the postpartum period when a woman is considered impure, is over. I want you, he said without even hugging me properly. I was shocked. Marat, you haven't answered my calls for a month. You didn't see your son being born, and the first thing you say is, "I want you." Our conversation turned into an argument. I told him how hard it had been for me, how abandoned I had felt. He answered, "You don't understand how hard it is for me to work. I am a man, a provider. I can't chatter on the phone for hours like a girl. You were under Kairat's care. What else do you need?" In bed, he was just as selfish and technical as before. He wanted to satisfy himself without caring about my feelings. After that, I felt used. As he wished, I became pregnant again very quickly. Marat left immediately after learning about the second pregnancy. He didn't even bother to stay long enough to accompany me to the scheduled ultrasound. I was devastated and angry. I stopped answering him. I didn't care anymore. My attention, my tenderness, my care, all of it was now directed only at Kairat. That evening when Marat left, I cried again. Kairat came upstairs. I was wearing his favorite black silk robe, which completely hid my figure, yet was so thin and light it felt like I was wearing nothing at all. He sat down next to me, and I couldn't help but lean against him. "Why is he like this? Why doesn't he love me?" I whispered, burying my face in his shoulder. His shirt smelled of luxury and tobacco. He hugged me, and this time his hands didn't tremble. His embrace was firm and authoritative. "He is a fool, Aygul. He doesn't see what a treasure he has. But I see it. I have always seen it. His hand rose and touched my cheek. His finger gently wiped away my tear, and then his gaze fell to my lips. It was the moment of truth. I didn't resist. I craved his warmth, his strength, the masculine attention he gave me. Our lips met. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a long, deep, all-consuming fusion in which he gave me all the passion I had never received from my husband. He was experienced, dominant, and gentle at the same time. He knew how to satisfy my emotional hunger. My robe fell slightly open, and I felt his hand slide along my waist. I can't, Kairat. I exhaled, but my arms were already around him. You can, Aigul, because you want this. You deserve to be loved. You deserve attention, he whispered, his voice hoarse. We spent that night together. I felt like a woman, not just an incubator for continuing the bloodline. He knew how to give pleasure, how to make me feel desired. His dominant manner, his strength and care, it was everything I had been lacking. In the morning I woke up in his arms, feeling guilty but incredibly happy. I had no regrets. I knew Marat was the one to blame for leaving me in the care of such a man. I chose the comfort I desperately needed. After that night, our connection became a secret dependency. We both understood we had done the unthinkable, betrayed Marat. But the taste of the forbidden fruit was too sweet. Kairat, strong and usually reserved, became even more tender, yet possessive. He didn't want to let me go, and I, having received the emotional and physical fulfillment I craved, felt an incredible surge of strength despite the second pregnancy. I no longer missed Marat. My feelings for him turned into cold indifference. I spoke to him only when necessary, always dryly. Kairat took on the role of a real husband while still being the uncle. He often traveled to Almaty for work, but even from there he called me, searching for a signal to talk to the baby. When he was sure no one could hear us, he whispered words of love I had dreamed about for so long. He continued to spoil me. Knowing my weakness for beautiful clothing, he brought me several expensive lingerie sets and elegant home dresses made of the finest silk from Almaty. They were not just beautiful, they were sensual. I wore them only for him. When he came, he always knew that under the thin fabric I was wearing his gifts. It became part of our game, our secret language. He came almost every day to see his grandnephew. He held the child with such tender affection that I melted. My son became our connecting link, our excuse. When the last trimester came, Kairat insisted on moving again. You can't be alone in this condition. I don't want you tired or stressed. His tone allowed no objections, so I moved. This time I lived not in the guest room, but in his personal suite. Of course, we slept in different rooms, but I knew he was near. He created ideal conditions for me. I felt that he truly loved me, not just used me. He cared about every detail, my food, my walks, my mood. I began to speak openly about my feelings. Kairat, why can't we be together? I asked once, standing before the mirror in one of his silk dresses. He came up from behind and embraced me, placing his hands on my belly. We are already together, Aigul. You know that, period. No, I want you to be my husband. I want to be your wife. Marat isn't coming back. He abandoned me. I'm ready for a divorce. Kairat sighed. You are my dearest dream, Aigul, but I cannot destroy Marat. He is like a son to me. I promised his parents. I built this life for him, this family. If I take his wife, I will destroy him. I will become a traitor and enemy in his eyes. And you're not afraid of being my lover? Isn't that betrayal? I turned and looked straight into his eyes. I am afraid, but being near you, caring for you, feeling your warmth, it has become like air to me. I would rather burn in hell for a sin than live without you. My labor was quick, and again, Kairat was my only companion. Marat didn't even respond to the message that our second son was born. After giving birth, I was full of determination. I couldn't live in this lie anymore. I spoke to Kairat. I won't breastfeed so I can recover faster. I demand a divorce. Marat is not worthy of me. He is not a husband. He is a visitor. I declared. Kairat, seeing my resolve, was upset. Aigul, think about the children, about divorce in our culture. I thought, I'd rather be divorced but happy and self-respecting than married, but lonely and betrayed. Marat returned a month after our second son was born, again with the same intention. He was sure he would simply take what he wanted and leave, but this time I was ready. Marat, I am filing for divorce, I said coldly. He laughed. Are you joking? Why? You're not a husband. You're not a father. You left me pregnant twice. You left me under the care of your uncle, who became closer to me than you. He stopped laughing. He was angry, yet confused. He realized he had lost control. What, you and my uncle planned something? He sneered. With or without him, I don't love you. I don't want you. He tried to convince me, begged, then began pressuring me. This is a disgrace. Your father won't survive this divorce. Think of the children. Do you want to be a second-rate woman with 2 kids? I remained firm. Humiliated and angry, he left. I filed for divorce. Life began to improve because Kairat promised to support me and the children. I felt free, knowing that soon I would be his, even if after the divorce. But something unexpected happened. Marat stopped replying to my messages. He also stopped answering Kairat's calls. We didn't know where he was. And then a strange letter came to me. Marat will not return. I'm taking everything. You will be alone and will never be with Kairat. Everything has a price. Period. The letter was unsigned, but I felt Marat's cold rage in it. That same day, Kairat came to me. His face was pale. Aygul, Marat wrote to me. He knows. Knows what? About the divorce? No, about us, about our meetings. Period. He showed me a message sent from an anonymous number. You took from me the mother of my children. You betrayed me. I have taken from you what is dearest to you, your reputation and your freedom. Now you will not be able to be with Aygul. You will live with this sin. Kairat, usually so strong, was crushed. He said that if I make you my wife, he will destroy me, our business, my honor. He will make me lose everything. My world collapsed. My freedom, my love. Everything was under threat. I had done everything to be with Kairat, and now Marat, who had been just a visitor in our lives, had become an executioner. I looked at Kairat. He was wearing his favorite shiny shoes, but now they seemed like lead on his feet. I realized Marat hadn't just left. He had planned a cruel revenge. After that fateful message from Marat, life in our home, which had once been filled with secret passion and comfort, turned into a stone desert. Kairat couldn't take the risk. His business, his reputation, everything he had built all his life was on the line, and Marat, even in his absence, had enough knowledge and connections in the logistics sphere to bring down Kairat's empire. Kairat stopped coming up to my place. We communicated only about practical matters and only by phone. His voice, always so velvety and confident, was now tense and dry. He avoided eye contact whenever we accidentally met on the stairs. Aygul, he said to me on the phone, we have to stop. I can't destroy my own life and Marat's life. He is my son. I can't be the cause of his downfall, even if he is guilty. My heart was breaking. I had sacrificed so much for him, neglected my husband, given birth to 2 children, only to find out that my love was too high a price for him. I tried to fight. I put on my boldest dress, short, tight, with an open neckline, and went down to him. I'm ready to be your second wife, if that is the custom. I am ready for anything, Kairat. Just don't leave me, I begged. He stood with his back to me, looking out the window. I could see how tense his shoulders were. Don't provoke me, Aygul, go. I can't betray him twice. I realized that for him, honor and the promises he had made to Marat's parents were more important than my love and my happiness, and even more important than his power and status. Marat, even after leaving, took away the very thing for which I had betrayed him. I finalized the divorce. Marat didn't show up, and we were divorced in absentia, although he kept the right to appeal. I officially became a divorced woman with 2 children. To break the vicious circle, I made a radical decision. I sold our trousseau, everything that had been bought by Kairat except for the children's things, and moved with the kids to Atirau, a small but promising city in the west, far from Uralsk. I needed to start a new life, where there would be no temptation and no betrayal. My father was upset but supported me. My sisters cried but understood. When Kairat found out about my departure, he became furious. He burst into my apartment the day before I left. He was wearing his favorite, perfectly polished dark brown shoes, and it seemed to me that he was ready to trample the whole world. "Where are you going? You cannot take the children. He is my nephew, my blood," he shouted, losing control for the first time. "They are your blood, but not your children, and you are not my husband, Kairat. You are my comforter, and you yourself gave up that role," I replied, standing firm. For a moment his eyes softened and he took a step toward me. I knew that if he touched me, I would stay, but he stopped. He was trapped by his own principles. "I will send money, everything you need. Always. You know where to find me." "I know, Kairat, but I don't want to look for you anymore. You taught me that I deserve attention and passion, but I also deserve honor and a real family, and I will find them without you." I arrived in Atirau, rented a small apartment, put the children into daycare, and found a job. Life was hard, but honest. I hardly spoke with Kairat, only accepted the money he regularly sent. I knew he did it out of duty and love for the children, not for me. Half a year later, I received shocking news from Osel. "Kairat is getting married, Aigul. He has found himself a bride. She is from Russia, from a neighboring region, and she is already older, childless. They say she cannot have children, and he chose her so there would be no more reason for temptation." My heart clenched with jealousy and pain. He chose barrenness over me. It was his way to atone for his sin and preserve his honor. He literally bought himself a lifelong vow of loyalty to Marat by choosing a woman who could not give him what I had given him, hope for continuation. I realized that Kairat would never be mine. He had sentenced himself to lifelong exile from temptation. Another year passed. I stood on the bank of the Ural River, watching the sunset. I was wearing a simple but stylish cotton dress and felt strong. I was not broken. I was reforged. I received a letter from Kairat. It was short. "Aigul, you made the right decision. I am happy that you are a strong woman. But Marat has returned. He came to Atirau. He is looking for you. He doesn't know that you are divorced. He only knows that you took his sons away, and he believes that you must return to him because only he can provide you with a real life. I don't know why he came here. Be careful. Don't let him find you." My heart froze. Marat, he had come back. But why to Atirau? Why not to Uralsk? And why was Kairat so frightened? I looked at my phone. An unknown number. A message. "I found you, Aigul. You hid my sons, but this is the end of your game. You are mine and the children are mine. I'm waiting for you in your apartment. Period." I rushed home. My heart was pounding like a drum. I walked in and saw him. Marat was sitting on my couch. He was dressed in expensive but slightly rumpled clothes and looked tired and very angry. "Did you think you could just leave? You are mine, Aigul. I know you were with Kairat, but I am here to take back what's mine, and you will give it back to me," he hissed. He reached out and picked up a baby sock from the table. "Is this yours? Yours or his?" he asked, and madness flashed in his eyes. I realized his revenge was only beginning, and it would be aimed not only at Kairat but also at me. I had driven myself into a corner.